So, Adrian, it's great to spend some time and think about the questions people ask on LinkedIn, especially. I asked them like, okay, we have this call today about the project we're doing together, an action movie, obviously. So let's dive into that maybe a little bit later. But maybe you can explain a little bit how you started as a director because you just finished. I mean, you were in post of an action movie starring Scott Adkins. You shot it on film, which is great as well. It's a real film, literally, and so but yeah, it's hard to start. I think for a young director, it's like okay, so we have all those digital tools, we have a lot of options, but still make a movie that's gonna be sold in a market, that's another thing, right? So, can you help us a little bit about your traject and what do you think is important to do in the first phase of your career? That's very important.
Well, thank you for having me, Daniel.
Sure.
Well, this is of course the $1 million question. How do I break in? What are the obstacles that I'm
Mhm.
facing? And the problem is that you're facing a lot of obstacles while not even knowing that they're obstacles. They're like some kind of invisible obstacles, and you bump in them over and over again, and you don't know why you don't get to the next level. Basically, from what I've learned, and based on my journey into getting films financed, you need basically two things if you want your project to get financed. First of all, you need a wonderful project with a great script based on a great concept, a great idea, that is both personal, so it relates
Mhm.
to you personal, because most producers and most investors, and even sales agents and distributors, they might ask, why do you want to make this film? What does it make? What is personal about it for you? Because they know if a project has some kind of personal connection with you, then you will go the extra mile to really make it as good as possible. So you need a great project, good script, which is not easy. It took me a long time to really figure out, okay,
Mhm.
what kind of scripts does the market want, and how to get to the level that your scripts get financed. The second is you need proof you can direct, because we're talking, if you want to get your film financed, even if it's a low budget film, what's a low budget film? 1 million, 500,000, 2 million, 3 million. Who's going to invest, let's say, $3 million in
Mhm.
someone who never directed before? So you need proof. That
How did you do that? How did you do that?
Well, for me, I directed and produced and wrote two feature films, invested
Mhm.
my own money in those films.
Mhm.
I worked as a commercial director, so I did TV
Sure.
commercials and stuff on TV and online. And
Right.
because of that, I had my own production company, and because of that, I had a whole network of people that I worked with, like really good DPs, really good production designers, also actors, and I had my network. And I was hiring these people for commercial gigs. So when I said, "Hey guys, I want to shoot a feature film. I want to do it in 2 or 2.5 weeks," I had to really make it as short as possible. And I asked him, are you willing to participate? Are you willing to invest your time in this project? And most of them said yes, because if you work in, let's say, in a commercial kind of
Mhm.
environment, stepping up to a feature
Yeah.
film or even a short film, it's artistically more interesting for most people. So it wasn't
Yeah.
actually too difficult to get a really high level, professional crew, and they took their equipment with them. I had companies that I asked, to participate with their equipment, camera, lenses, light equipment, and also actors. It's not that difficult to get really good actors because, they're looking for great parts. So if you have a good project and if you have something to offer, they will participate. And I think that's the first step most filmmakers have to make. I did it with 2 feature films, but I would start if I would give an advice, and I would say, okay, start with short films. Do 1, 2, 3 short films. Try to step up to a feature film, and then you have like a portfolio that you can show to producers, to investors, and you
Yeah.
can show that you can direct.
Yeah, basically what we do is make total sense. So you came into the movie business through commercials, it seems, which is great. It's very visual commercials. It's like short films, basically.
Yeah.
But what we do as a producer, as a production company, I mean, if it's like a new director and we pitch like a movie of a couple of million or maybe just $1 million, having a link to not to a reel, but really to a short film, it always helps, because that's why I think if you make a short film, it should look like a feature film or even better. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense, I guess. And with commercials, you have the same type of quality you can bring. So yeah, I agree. That's great. But you have to. Then your first problem is gonna be, okay, how do I make a short film? Okay, that's gonna be friends and family money, I guess. And maybe you spent like 30-40K. That's going to be a lot already, but then you have the chance to have the Arri Alexa and the big lenses and all that, which you will need, and also a good DP. Don't underestimate, I guess, the crew on a short film is basically the same crew as a feature film, slightly smaller, of course, but the same people, the same type of people. Because what I see also is, when you hire a first AD or a DP, those people that do those short films also do feature films in many cases. I mean, you want to have that quality, otherwise it doesn't make any sense. So I agree on that. That's very interesting. So yeah, but you wrote yourself also into the business, it seems. So you wrote your own script. You had your own concepts, because I believe at that point, when you don't have the track record, it's hard to find writers with good scripts, I guess. So what's your story there?
Well, absolutely, you have to, especially in the beginning, write your own scripts for 2 reasons. First of all, if you're able to write a script, that's already a proof that you can tell a story, that you can tell a fully fleshed out, let's say 90-minute story. So it's kind of a proof of that. Secondly, any good writer will just sell their script to a producer and then leave it up to the producer to choose a director. So they will not team up with an unknown director, because the unknown director will just pull down, let's say, their project. So it's really difficult to find really good writers that are willing to work with an unknown director. And rightly so. I mean, I understand them. They want to have good directors, experienced directors, to make their projects a reality. So it's very important that you can write yourself. You're gonna, for the rest of your career and everything you do, it's always gonna benefit you in every project you're involved in. Yeah.
But it's also hard to find, let's say, I mean, okay, if you're aiming for experienced writer as an inexperienced director, that's going to be hard. But there are many writers that are also not experienced, that basically at the same level as you are, but then as a writer. So it would be, I mean, there are many ways to find those nowadays, of course. But yeah, then it's going to be hard to find something very personal, I guess. So I mean, the first thing would be like find a writer that you think like, okay, this is what I like, and then maybe hook up with him or her to do a rewrite together, or maybe just to do another draft of what you've been working on as a director. So I think, I mean, that's my experience. That's how I also worked in the past. So that's also maybe a good advice, I guess. What do you think about that? Is that something you also tried or did?
Not really. I just wanted to write my own projects, especially in the beginning of my career. So and yes, I did work with some writers, and we tried to develop something together. But then maybe I was just, I don't know, too stubborn. I just wanted,
Too
I had this
too
idea what I
picky.
wanted to do. Maybe that was the reason.
Yeah,
But it's just really difficult to find good
yeah,
writers. And I just figured, if I figured out myself, if I learn the craft myself, it might take some time,
yeah.
but at least I have IP that I own. Because one of the problems is, let's say you team up with a writer, and let's say the script is fantastic of this writer. You go and present it to a producer, and the producer might say, "Oh wow, this is like, I don't know, 5, 6, $10 million film. We would love to do this film, but not with this director because the director is not experienced." So then what is the writer going to do? We're going to say, no, 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 I want to work with this director, and then
I've I've seen that many times. Basically, I'm of course I'm talking as a producer. You're talking as a director, so it's a little bit different approach, or we're looking at things, which is normal. But what I've seen that inexperienced writers and directors overpackage their projects. So basically, they have like a project. They have a writer, they have a director, they have a producer, they have a lot of executive producers. What are they doing? I don't know. But anyway, they still need you in order to finance the movie. So that's a problem. That's really a red light. Basically, what the problem is, the package becomes the burden of the project, and those projects will never be made because when the story is like interesting or maybe half interesting, whatever, and there is such a long list of people that are attached that not can be fired or whatever, then it's going to be hard to sell. Then it's going to be hard to convince financiers and even actors. Actors are also very picky. They want to know that the director can pull it off.
yeah,
If you cannot pull it off and the script is great, that's a risk. If the script is not great and the director is good, you know, it's a financial decision they make, and those deals happen a lot as well. There are many mediocre films that get made because the actor says yes. Um, I mean, that's just the reality of things. But in any case, you need a solid package to in order to get financing. That's for sure. So
yeah.
I got
One of
those.
the things that
Mhm.
I've, sorry to interrupt, but one
No
of the things
problem.
that I've noticed is that let's say actors that are bankable and that that are, let's say, at a certain level in their career, some level of fear starts to get into the equation, so to say, that they have something to lose. And a lot of aspiring filmmakers, they don't have that feeling because they have everything to win, right? Everything, they're very enthusiastic, they
Sure.
want
Yeah.
and they believe. But once you're an actor or a director or any professional, and you've done a few films, and you made some mistakes, you don't want to make them again. So it's a different, it's a disconnect somehow, sometimes, these two worlds.
No, I agree. That's. For a beginning filmmaker, it's every film is like a step forward. For an actor that makes millions a year, every decision is a risk. And actors, they want to get the best, greatest scripts ever that pushes their career. That's why some actors are really popular, like Tom Cruise. He's not just popular because he's Tom Cruise, also because he picks the scripts that are really good. Basically, his agent and manager, they pick the script, and those people, they know what a good script is. That's where it starts.
Yeah.
So I agree. They have a lot to lose. That's for sure, and that's why they. It's in any business the same. At some level, you don't want to work with amateurs. You really need like people with a track record and a long track record, and then they can say, yeah, okay, let's do it. We'll come back to all this, of course, because we have some questions of people on LinkedIn. And Jen Whitaker, screenwriter and producer, she asked basically, I keep being told that I need money to attach that will bring the investor. So basically, to make her message shorter, it's so she wrote her screenplay, she has a pitch deck, she has a crew, she got basically everything, but the problem is that the investors, they don't come on board because she doesn't have the cast. So how to get the cast, that's the problem. Okay, with the equity, but you don't have the equity because you don't have the cast. So that's the catch 22, and that happens all the time in I would say real estate as well, but in the film business. So how do you do that? I think maybe one of the advices, and maybe you can also tell me your experience in that. But my advice as a producer would be, okay, so the main goal is get the cast. So basically, you need to have this kick-ass director that the cast can support. They need to feel comfortable with the directors. Otherwise, you have nothing. You're not gonna go to the star cast without a director. That's just very tough to do. I mean, it doesn't make any sense anyway, depending the genre also. But it's a tough call. So yeah, get this director, add him to the pitch deck. That would be my first advice, of course. A director with a track record, and also at the level of the cast you're approaching, or maybe slightly lower, slightly higher, whatever. But in that range, you should. If you have a director that just made one small movie and you want to go to a big actor, to Matt Damon, whatever, that's not gonna work. That's a waste of time, basically. So yeah, and then you have this director. Then I would say you go. So you add them to the pitch deck. Now you go to the cast and to the agent. And you say, okay, this is the package, and you have to do an offer. Basically, you have to do an offer, but before you do the offer, you have to ask your investor to back the offer. So basically, if the offer is $1 million, then your investor need to agree. Okay, upon certain conditions, if we get this actor, are you willing to do the down payment for the pay or play, which is basically paying the actor ahead of production. So if he says yes, then you have skin in the game, and then you can go to the cast and you can get them, and then the ball gets rolling. Because if you have the cast, then at the same time you also speak with the sales agent. You need to run sales estimates based on that cast, and based on those sales estimates, you can make a finance plan, and you know how much the movie is going to be sold, what the upside is going to be. All those documents need to also be, of course, distributed with the investors, because they're not in the business of losing money. Investors are in the business of making money, and if they invest in movies, let's call it more cash flowing a movie. It's not like okay, we're gonna invest and we're gonna see what it's gonna do. That's just stupid business. They don't do that. They want to make money, right? So get that package together. Let them finance the pay or play offer, and then the ball gets rolling. And also, I mean, you don't want to pre-sell too many territories, because if you do that, there is no upside anyway. Now, many investors are also aiming on bigger movies, and they sometimes take the risk of 10, 15, 25 million in order to get like a big output, maybe a Netflix deal, and then make a big chunk of money as well. But that's another business. That's something that's not for beginning filmmakers, I would say. So yeah. So how did you get your cast together, Adrian? Because you have. I mean, how did you do that?
Well, for let's say, for Legacy of Lies, let's say the first film that really got, let's say, serious financing in my career. Basically, we had a script, we had, let's say, below the line costs of the film. So, regardless of which actor we would have, you need a certain budget to be able to make the film. So we had that, let's say, in the budget. And basically, it's you go to sales agents, and you have to attach a sales agent that really believes in the project. And they will, together with them, you have a cast. You write down basically, the actors that could work for this film, and the sales agent will tell you, okay, this actor, most probably in this kind of film with that director will sell for X amount. That actor will sell for more. That actor will sell for less. So you have, let's say, a list of, well, I think we had like 10 actors or so. And basically you're judging their bankability. That's how they call it. And it's really kind of nasty, to talk about actors in terms of bankability, or in terms of directors in terms of bankability, because I'm also bankable for a certain budget. I'm not bankable for
Right.
$100 million film.
Not
I'm
yet.
not there, not yet. But and the same for actors. So you have to understand, where's your level of bankability, and at that point, my bankability was not very high. So we were aiming for actors that could be willing to participate in a film like this. And then you have a conversation with the investor that has to put the money down for the guarantee to pay the actor, and you show the numbers. And you have a discussion. You say like, okay, me as a director, this actor, I prefer this actor. And if the numbers add up, so if, let's say, the potential sales of that actor adds up with the budget, and the investor can see, okay, I can make a profit here, then they have to greenlight, the investor needs to greenlight the offer to the actor, and then you make the offer, and then you wait for weeks and weeks and weeks sometimes, and that is the most frustrating part of the whole
Yeah.
film process, waiting for actors just to
Yeah,
respond,
No, that's true. They take time. They take their time, and if they're shooting, you have to wait long. I mean, basically, you just have to go with another actor if you don't want to lose a year. But also, I think a lot of producers are not capable, and which is normal also, are not capable of getting the cast because they don't have the track record. So then my advice would be hook up with a producer that has the connection. And when you do that, then you have the track record of that producer as well, which brings a lot of comfort with the sales with the talent agents sees, and also sales agents. So that would be my advice on if that doesn't work out well with the cast, because I mean those talent agents, they're very very busy. They have a lot of offers all the time, and they're not waiting for you. They're not waiting for anyone. They have a lot of stuff going on. So yeah, then we have a question from Seth. Bigger issue finance by scripts. Yeah, I don't know what he means by finance my own scripts. I mean, if you write a script, you have to pay for your own time. That nobody's gonna pay you anything to write a script. But maybe he means like make those scripts into a movie. How do you start? So yeah, I mean, you can make a movie at any budget, right? So you have to find the money. The question is, what budget level are you gonna make? If it's like 100K movie, then it's another approach than the movies Adrian is making. Those are sales driven movies, which has another system which we just discussed, like the cast, bankability, and all that. Now, if you only spend like 100K or less or more, or a little bit more, then you can basically also go to a sales agent, but they won't step in on the concept phase. They really have to see the movie, and if the movie sucks, then they're not gonna sell it for you. If it's really good, yeah, they're gonna jump on it, but it has to be really good, and it's not just very easy to make a really good movie. So that's my thought on that. Yeah, getting cheap movies distributed, I think it's going to be the self-distribution model, where you just charge a couple of bucks and make an audience be very present on Instagram and all that. Question is, do you want to do it? I don't know. The other approach would be maybe if you want to go the plus 1 million feature, let's say the pre-sales movie business, let's say plus to 1 million, then you might be better to hook up with an experienced producer, maybe get a little share, but don't get married with your script or with your first project. You know, there's so many others that you can do. The thing is, get one movie done, get a producer's credit, and move on. That's also, I mean, that's also why I see, Adrian, a lot of beginning filmmakers, they're just so in love with their first project, and they think it's like magic. And I understand that. I used to be like that as well. And then realizing, actually, oh shit, you know. So you have to move on. You have to be capable to make mistakes, and don't take it personally. You building like art, but art that costs a lot of money, and it's very hard to find a lot of money for art.
Yeah.
So if you can do it, that's fine, but it's not very easy. Any thoughts on that?
Well, what I've noticed, and also in my program, I've noticed that many people are looking for money, and they're spending a lot of time waiting and trying to get money, and they'll get very, very frustrated because people don't want to give them money, and they don't respond, and all this kind of stuff. But the thing they don't really give a lot of attention is the quality of their project, the quality of their script. Many creatives, and I was the same, in the beginning. You think you write something, and in your mind it all makes sense, and in your mind it's just fantastic and great. But the thing is, we are in the business of communicating, right? We're not in the business of creating something for my mind. We want to reach an audience. So we have to test it. We have to test what we've written to an audience, to readers, to producers, to professionals, to actors, to people and then ask them, not do you like it, or, what do you think about it? No, but do you understand simply the story? Do you understand why the characters at any certain moment do what they do? And you would be surprised, especially for beginning writers. They just if they send it out to 10 people, they get 10 different reactions because people read that script in 10 different ways. Well, that means it's not well written. That means, it's all over the place. If you want to write a good script, everyone has to understand what's going on, why the characters are doing what they're doing, what's at stake, what's their goal, all these things. And that is a craft. And it sounds easier than it is. It's really not. So that's why I am advocating of writing yourself as a director and making your films for any budget, if necessary for zero budget, because there are ways of doing that. You will find people to cooperate with you, and it might be a smaller crew. It might not look like a Hollywood film, but if the concept is great, and if the characters are great, and if the script is great, people will forgive you that it doesn't look like, a Tom Cruise film, because they're enjoying the story. In the end, we're storytellers. We're in the art of telling stories. And if the story is good, if the characters are appealing, we will keep watching, because that's all you need to do. Your job as a director is that someone wants to keep watching for 1 minute, for 2 minutes, another minute, and in the end, they've watched your whole film. That's all you need to accomplish, basically. And as a writer, you need people to keep writing. All you need to do is like, okay, I want to read one more page. Oh, one more page. That's it. It's actually very simple. But to do that is not so simple, and people make it very complicated, and they want to blame other people if they don't get the money for it and all this kind of stuff. But really, write a good script, write a good short film, and produce it yourself. And another thing is that the things you learn while making a film for no budget, you will use the rest of your career. I just made a film, it's close to $10 million film, shot on 35 mil with Andrzej Sekula, who's the DP, of Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs, American Psycho. Do you think I had enough money for this film? No. I in my mind, I could easily use 20 million, 30 million, and it's never enough. Do you think Steven Spielberg has enough money for his film when he has 100 million? No. In his mind, he would love to have 200 million. He could easily use it. So you always have to get the max out of the budget you have, whether it's 10 million, whether it's 10,000, whether it's $1,000. And these techniques, this way of thinking, will benefit you for the rest of your career.
Yeah, I agree on that. I agree. There's never enough budget. But you say like believable characters. I think that's the most important thing and the most toughest thing to do as a writer.
Yeah.
If a character is not believable, you can tell any story you want. Nobody cares. I think it's also in real life. If you have like interesting people, you're listening to them. Why? Yeah, I don't know. They're interesting, So you keep listening to them. So if you put a person like that in your movie, the movie could go anywhere. It doesn't really matter. I mean, the story has to be believable as well. But if those characters are so interesting, you can go very far. And it's very hard to write believable characters. It's very hard. I'm not a writer, but I think it's just really hard. And I think also you need like 10 years to get there.
Yeah.
I mean, you need to have some knowledge about everything basically in order to pull that off.
Yeah. You need some life experience and things like that, but also you need to unlearn what I call the save the cat kind of templates, because that kind of writing that might have worked in the 90s or early 2000s, but story is not plot. Characters are not puppets that are, let's say, planted in a plot. Nowadays, the story comes from the character. It's a very different approach. It's a very different way of looking at story. And when you have an interesting character, and it's actually an interesting concept, like the film we're working on now, that has a really interesting concept. When that works, when the concept is right, now you have the foundation to write a script, and the story will evolve from the character. The obstacles, the transformation, the catharsis in the end, it will come from the character, and it's already embedded in the concept. And working with my students, what I've learned is that literally nobody focuses on concept. Nobody understands what it is, because they just think, oh, it's an idea. I'm going to make a film about a gangster doing such and such, and then they start writing. Yeah. But you really need to think that concept through. And if you have an idea that you like and that that you feel, let's say, you have something, you feel something that you can say with that, there are techniques to amplify that as well, because you want to amplify that concept to the strongest possible version of it, so it will appeal to an audience, and it will make your writing so much easier if the concept is right. And if the concept is not right, your script is going to be shaky. I'm sure you've experienced this, Daniel, in your line of work. You read so many scripts.
Yeah, that's a problem. There's so many scripts. Basically, we don't have time anymore to read all the scripts. I mean, of course not. It's like 10 scripts a day that come into the mailbox. So it's a lot of scripts.
So how do you choose then? This is very interesting for...
Yeah, there you go, man. I start with the concept. What's the log line? If the log line is complicated, I don't see the movie. Why would I read the synopsis? If the log line is, whoa, this is interesting, I will read the synopsis. If that's still interesting, okay, let's send the script. But it starts with and even the title. So many titles are so stupid. Okay, and then I read the logline. Yeah, it's same level. Of course, that's a pass. And I'm not a guy. Sorry guys, sorry writers, I cannot respond to all the emails. I would be doing that every day and 24/7. So I cannot do it. But work on the concept, like Adrian says. If the concept is just not interesting, it's a pass for most producers, I guess. Now, a concept is much more important for an action movie and a horror movie than for drama. Uh, that's for sure. But you know, we are in the genre films, so we do horror, action, sci-fi, if any. um, so yeah. I mean, what I ask many writers is come up with some concepts. You know, or just write me DVD box synopses, like a couple of sentences, and send me like 5 a day, 10 a day, or maybe 10 a week, and then you know, then after a while, there's like, oh, this one sticks. You know, this one is good. Okay, let's highlight it, and then let's not, you know, let's not be fixated on. Let's just keep going. You know, let's keep keep making more uh, pitches, and then you know, if you do like a couple of months as a writer, so every day like 2 3 concepts, you know, and you vet it with another producer or maybe a director or some other people you know you trust that are not saying yes all the time, then it will be very clear that some concepts would stick, and might be worth to get into a synopsis. And if the synopsis is still good, you can do the script, but not with your first idea or second idea. Like, okay, now I'm gonna write a script, and now we're gonna package it, and now we're gonna get the actors, and then get all the frustration. I cannot get the actors. You know,
Yeah.
that's a dead end. That's not gonna
But
work.
that is what most writers do, right? That's what most directors
Yeah,
do, and that is a really big mistake. And I did it the same in the beginning.
yeah, you know,
I made
I
that mistake.
understand that. I mean, movie is magic, you know. I mean, if you put something on paper, you have like 90 pages of storytelling, you know, within the middle center to the dialogue and the characters, and then the scene description. It's magical, but it's magical for you. I mean, we get like 10 scripts a day. There's nothing magic on it. We really look at the content, at the quality of the content, and if those characters are not believable, if the concept is not just 100%, if it's 70%, forget it. It has to be 100%, really, really good. Otherwise, you know, it's not going to work. Now, if the concept is 100%, in many cases, the script is just like, okay, it's okay, but it's not 100%. So the writer also needs to be open to go right and to get it to the highest possible level. Because I can imagine that. That's what I see also. Many writers uh, don't realize their flaws. So it would always be good to have another writer with more experience to help you out, and just cut the cake in two, you know, in half, and make a better script. And you learn a lot about it, you know. An experienced writer, they can bring a lot of insights, and they can just make it better. And that's what a producer wants. So if you can do that, then you know, then you're ready to pitch it to a production company. I would say only then it could be like the super talent, but you know, we all think we are super talented until reality kicks in. You know, that's something else, right? So yeah, I mean, screenwriting is the hardest business in the world. I think it's the hardest business.
Yeah,
It's just
it's really
very,
very difficult. And
it's very
you
tough.
know, I can give you an interesting anecdote. My wife, she's an actress. She was an actress. She's not acting anymore, but she was an actress, and she did a lot of self tapes. And
Hmm.
then they just send you, you know, they send you a scene or 2 scenes or 3 scenes, and you know, and very often that's it. No description of the character, you know, nothing about the story or a little bit. So you really have to figure out while doing these self tapes, like, you know, what is the story about? Who is this character now? And she really put a lot of time in that to really get into the character and then, you know, give a performance. But by doing so, and I was helping her, you know, with these self tapes, you really see when the writing is good and when it's not good. I remember one time she got she did a casting for Domina, I believe Domina. It was a British series that was shot in Rome in Cinecittà, and she got the part in the end. And it was 3 short scenes, and after those scenes, I knew the character back and forth, and I was reading the scenes, and I was like, how did he do that? How did the writer do that? Because everything was there. What was the goal? What was her pain? What was at stake if she wouldn't, you know, everything was there. And we were really reading and it was just hidden. It was just there, very, very organic, very natural, not on the nose. And there were wonderful scenes. And when she did the series, it was a wonderful character. It's really, really well done. And then you see the quality of really good professional writing. It's
Yes.
it's you know, you can see
It's in the subtext.
yeah,
It's in the
it's just
subtext.
it's a magic trick in a way. It's you get a lot of context out, a lot of exposition out without feeling expositional. And one of the tricks to do that is through conflict. If two people are in a conflict, it's easier to just say what you think, let's say. So it's just easier to be clear. But yeah, good writers know how to use these techniques to keep it organic and just to flow.
Yeah. No, I would say for writers, if you want to make a 10 million budget movie, that's the level you need to be. Those characters need to be real. When I read a script which is really good, you just don't stop reading. You don't stop reading, and that's what you want. But a lot of scripts have this build up in order to get somewhere, and the build up is just boring. Yeah, I know you want to get somewhere, but every page, every second, every page, every line has to make sense, needs to be very strong. Don't forget about that. I call that lazy screenwriting. So from the start, don't let the air out of the balloon. Who said that? I read it on the internet. It's really true. Don't let the air out of the balloon. So meaning, every scene. Sometimes you have those in between scenes. You need to transition scenes. Let's call it. And they're just like transition scenes, but they also have to make sense. They also have to be exciting. They also have to show something,
Yeah.
And then you make a good movie. Then you make the next Die Hard,
Yeah.
And that's what you need.
You really have to push yourself in that. And many writers that I work with, and my students as well, I see that they have this big moment, and they're like, okay, that's the climax of my film. This moment, this is it. And one of my tricks is like, okay, what would happen if we start with that? What if that is the beginning of your film? And they're like, what? No, but I cannot go bigger than this. I cannot make it stronger than this. And well, actually, if they think about it, they can. So they can push it. They can push it further from a character point of view, from a plot point of view, because the audience is so spoiled. They are so bombarded with content, from all kinds of stories and all kinds of media outlets. You really have to make it strong, and the strongest possible version of what you can create with your story.
Yeah, I think that's interesting about action movies and adventure movies like, Temple of Doom, Indiana Jones. The thing is, when you start watching those movies, it feels like, oh, it's already happening. Oh, I just missed something. No, it's just the start of the movie, and that's cool. You're just sucked into the story. And then there's a lot of stuff that's happening you don't really understand, which comes very clear after. That's interesting because it keeps the audience engaged. So yeah. Then I have Martin Lawrence. So he has. Let me just read this. So you're going to shoot a low budget psychological. Basically, yeah. A low budget horror movie, how to distribute this. I think it's always the same problem. If the movie is really good, if it's the next Blair Witch Project, yeah, sales agent Netflix is gonna fight for it. But if it's not that, you may just recoup $0. That's the reality of things. Don't forget. In the old days, there were just like not too many people that were making movies, and they had a big crew. They had 35mm cameras everywhere. But times have changed. Right now, we all have cameras. You can just make a movie at any budget. but getting then the same distribution benefits than those big movies, that's maybe a little bit too yeah, not realistic, I think. I mean, distribution costs money, and in order to have a sales agent invest time in a project and sell the movie, they need to spend some money. They have some marketing money. They have, you know, P&A for big movies. But if your movie only costs 100K, they're not gonna even look at it. You know, it's. I mean, it's hard. It's very easy to it's very easy to lose a lot of money on cheap movies. So it's better to invest in a big one, and then you're sure like the market will evaluate it correctly. So yeah, that's for the questions.
Well, I would like to respond to the last question, because you know, art is in the making of it. I read this quote once, and I don't know who said it, but I quote it. I don't claim it to be mine, but it's true. Art is in the making of it. In making art, that's what it's about. If you're a musician, it's making music what it's about. It's not your bank account that, you know, explodes, you know, because of your music, which is great, of course, but that's not what it's about. I mean, if art would be about money, if that's what art is for you or for any creator, I would say, you know, become an investment banker. You know, your chances on success are really, really, really much higher. So I understand that money is an aspect of especially filmmaking, but at the same time, you know, we're not investment bankers. We're not, you know, entrepreneurs. We have to have an entrepreneurial spirit, and we have to understand how it works. But what really matters is being on set, creating a moment of truth on that screen. You know, that is for me the moment. If you ask me, the whole thing about directing, for me, directing and making movies is me sitting on a chair, seeing firsthand the scene playing out, and with all the madness and craziness that's going on around it, you know, with it's a whole circus in making a film. You have to be in that moment, and you have to look at the screen and feel if it's right or not. Feel if this is a moment of truth or not. And if not, it's up to you to, you know, do another take, to you know, to give some instructions to the actors or to the DP or whatever. But that's what it's about, that moment. And if the film becomes a success, if it's all nice, it's nice because if it's a success, you're going to be again in that chair, sitting again, watching that screen, right? That's what it's about. So that's why I feel sometimes that, you know, filmmakers are so occupied by the money aspect of it that they almost forget what it's about. And nowadays, you know, we have a phone, you know, we have you know, DSLR cameras. You know, every DP nowadays has its own quite high level camera because they're not so expensive anymore. So it's really not so difficult to get a group of people together to create your short film or your feature film. And with AI, it even gets easier. And you know, you can even level up your production 10 times more than what's possible even 3 years ago. I mean, if you're making, for instance, I don't know, like an alien invasion film, right? And there's two guys sitting in a room hiding from the aliens. Let's say that's your concept. Before you could not really show the aliens, and if you would, it would just look crappy. But now with AI, you can have an establishing shot of New York with a, you know, I don't know, with aliens, you know, flying around, whatever. And then you cut inside, you cut to your actors. So it's there's so many possibilities now for young filmmakers to express themselves. It becomes so much easier, so much more accessible. It's almost like with painting. You know, all you need is a canvas and some paint, and you can paint. Or with music, you know, you buy a guitar, you make music. And what I like about the AI revolution and the revolution of the cheaper cameras is that it's more and more accessible which means it's less depending on money. And still, so many writers and directors, they're just focusing on money. And if they would just use that time to become a better writer and to make their own little projects, to experiment, to see what works, to see how their writing translates to the screen, what works, what doesn't work. I mean, it's the fun part and it's the creative part. And, what I try to tell my students and the people I work with is like, focus on that first and get better, get to the level that people will come to you and say, hey, this guy, he has a interesting sense of humor. He has an interesting way of looking at film. He uses the camera in an interesting way. And now you're in a different position because now you come in as a director who's not established in any sort of way, but who has a voice. Because in the end, that's what producers, investors are looking for, and studios and Netflix. They want to have someone that has a voice, that has a different way of looking or a clear way of looking. So yeah, I would tell these people that ask these questions, go out and make movies. Really, go out and make movies. Have fun, enjoy, and money will come. Distribution will come. Festivals will come. It will come if you create.
Yeah, for sure. Now, what I see with good directors, I directed a movie in 2007 on 35 as well. It was my first movie, and it was really hard. But what I've learned there is when you come to the set, a good director, he figured it all out. They know all the shots. They know what they need, what they don't need. And if you come to the set, it becomes very stressy, of course. If you then have to think like, okay, we can do it this way or that way, you're wasting so much time. So you really need to know the shots already in your mind. You need the shot list, of course, but you need to know the shots in your mind so you can still change them. Because if you we have this option, that option, you do coverage like hell, that you may end up with still a crappy movie because, it doesn't go together or whatever. So you really have to be very, you really need to know your shots. Every shot, every day, every shooting day. So without that, it's going to be very hard, I guess.
And study the masters in this,
Yeah.
So make your own films, experiment, but also... I just did a film with Andrzej Sekula, and he's a maestro. I call him the maestro, and he is a maestro. He understands the language of cinema on a level that is poetry. Yes. And when you understand cinema like that, it becomes more simple. You're not looking for an effect like, okay, we're going to shake the camera because it looks exciting. We have two people talking. You know what? We're just going to move. We're going to track, from left to right, because then there's movement in the shot. No, the camera. Yeah, his vision was like the camera is invisible. Camera doesn't exist. Only when it has a very, very specific, let's say, function. And it's the actors that have to they have to bring the emotion, not the camera. It's completely ridiculous. And now we're so used to, YouTube videos and crappy stuff that is really, there's no idea about what kind of language are you speaking in terms of cinema, because it is a language. It is absolutely a language.
Yeah. Totally, I think the camera only moves when there's a motivation for, like those typical round table shots when the camera is going just around just to have some movement. That's stupid. That's amateur work. So, but if it moves in order to follow some dialogues, then it makes sense. There's motivation. You need motivation in order to move the camera. Otherwise, just put it on a tripod and don't move it. I totally agree on that.
Or you deliberately break that rule, because it's never it's never black and white. That's the creative part of it. And I'm sure Andrzej also did that. But it's just you have to understand what you're doing, and so doing it yourself on a level that nobody is bothering you. Because if you make a no budget short film, you don't have 10 million problems, provoked by $10 million budget on your back, right? There's nobody, breathing in your neck saying, oh, you have to finish, you have to do this, you have to do that. So you can experiment, but at the same time, look at the masters, look how they set up their scenes, their shots, when the camera moves, when not. And it's a constant process of learning and creating with those tools that you've learned.
Yeah, going back to the AI, AI looks great, and it's unbelievable. It's getting better every day. Now, if this happens already when I get pitch decks and budgets, and it's like, okay, this movie gonna make for $1.5 million, and it's gonna look like 150 million. Yeah, okay, hold on. It's hard for a financier to invest in that. The budget or the structure of the film is gonna be based on the cast anyway, on the cast level. Now, if you use AI, what would help is to create those scenes already, and maybe edit them together with some rough previous where the actors are supposed to come in. That could help, but I think the AI should be already present. Otherwise, it's like, okay, we have a VFX budget of 1.5 million, but right now it's going to cost like 25,000. I mean, it's nearly impossible to get a completion bond signing of that deal.
Yeah.
So with AI, it's still tricky, but you need to really show the imagery and then also the deliverables. I don't know what the color depth and the deliverables is. It's not like what comes out of a digital camera. It's just basic QuickTime, whatever it is. So it's also very important to get that at some level. I'm not sure how far they are with AI right now, but it will probably get better.
Well, probably yes. They're quite developing it, of course, but. Maybe not for the bigger budget films yet, but for smaller budget films, if you want to experiment and just make, let's say, 2 or 3 million, a 2-minute film, you can use it. You can experiment with it. You can have a shot and you can change the background or add something in the background. And, the idea is to play with it and to tell your story, to create your world, because in the end, that's what people will be attracted to, to your vision, to how you see the world, to that specific story.
Yeah. Now, I think it's very interesting, Adrian. But what I also see is, we just try to give some information on new filmmakers and maybe some slightly experienced filmmakers. That's one thing. But on the other hand, the one-on-one is also something I try to do. Because what I see, I get a lot of questions, emails, scripts, a lot of scripts, but there's some advice everywhere, but then still people filmmakers make the wrong decisions that will have an influence on their next 5 years. They can just easily lose 5 years of their life.
Yeah.
If they don't make the right decision, or if they just keep pursuing something that's on a dead end.
Yeah.
So that's why I also try to on my website. I just try to give advice to people. I only do it like 4 hours a week. Because I'm just doing all those deals and also doing a lot of production company finance on the balance sheet. But anyway, so that's something also you're doing, right? So you're offering also some you have like a director school, writing school. Can you tell a bit more about that?
Well, it's called the Action Method. And of course, because, as a director, it's focused on directors. The ultimate goal is to be on set and say action, right? Action is the magical word. But, my vision is that in order to say action, you have to take action. You have to get out there and what I said, make short films, write your scripts, present your scripts, make mistakes, rewrite, be able to deal with notes of producers, because so many people are devastated when they get notes and they think, oh, I'm worthless, I cannot write, or they think, oh, this producer is an asshole, and
they spent the time reading your script already. That's a good thing.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a process of learning, and I'm always grateful to anyone who reads my scripts, because they put in the time, they put in effort to give me feedback of what they've experienced. So it's important. So the program I'm offering is, let's say, it's the 7-day of teachings on how to make a short film, because that's where it all starts. And basically, it contains the whole process of making a film. Okay, we start with a short film, but making a feature film is not much different. And then, of course, they level up to the feature film, and that's more complicated in terms of screenplay, in terms of concept, what we discussed. And also in terms of shooting, how do you plan that? And there's a financing element to it, but what I've noticed is that it's such a blockage, this financing, and it's such a focus that it takes so much away from the actual creative spirit of people, that I'm just like, FUCK, the financiers, let's do it ourselves. Let's find a way to tell the story, to show that we are capable of making films. And the producers will come and the investors will come, because there's not many people that actually are very good in making films. There's a lot of people that say they're good, they think they're good, but once you prove it, now you're in a position that people will actually come to you. So that is my vision on it, and what you're saying, Daniel, with your program, it's really good, because you need a mentor in that process. You need someone that gives you honest feedback, that helps you to make that next step. It's what I said in the beginning. As an aspiring filmmaker, it's so easy to bump in the same kind of obstacles, and you don't even know what it is. You don't know why you're not getting to that level. What is it? So you need experienced people that are honest with you and that are willing to tell you clearly, okay, this is not working. You have to focus on this and you have to change that. Otherwise, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, true. And the thing is, it's a very personal thing. Some people may pursue a career as a director, but are maybe better as a producer or a writer or whatever. I feel very young. You're still seeking for the yourself, basically, or maybe the type of movies. I mean, let's say I get a lot of producers with projects, and then of course they aim too high in the budget. So what would be the most realistic next step for their careers? So that's something I try to analyze, and it's very important to understand what type of person this is. Because some persons might be better to do more slightly more artistic type of movies. Others may be much better in just light content. I mean light content. I mean in just enjoyable features with not complicated context. So that's just a short choice you have to make. But of course, when we were young, we were all attracted to those great movies, and we also want to make those great movies. But maybe that's not the best choice. So you can waste some time pursuing that. So yeah, I first try to understand what type of person this is. Only spend like an hour, and then I can give the advice, but sometimes it's hard. You can say no, fuck off, right? But that's fine too. But it's better that shortcut than just wasting time. I mean, what's the value of wasting 5 years of your life? Huh?
No.
What's the value of that?
Yeah, it took me a long time to figure out what were the obstacles that I was facing, because I was doing it all on myself, and I was, bumping into obstacles, and I didn't understand what they were. So yeah, it's very valuable if you can help people to point those obstacles out and how to overcome them, because you've done it, I've done it, and yeah, that's valuable.
Yeah. No, let's keep talking. I mean, we're working on this action movie anyway. We're not gonna say anything about this film, of course, but it's for later.
People will see.
Yeah. No, that's a good one. That's a big. It's a good one. It's a big one, but it's a good one as well. So I'd say it's very.
It is a great.
The concept is good. The concept is good.
The script is coming along
yet, but we're working on that.
Yeah, the director is kind of okay, but
he's fine.
He's fine. Let's see.
Okay. No, cool, man. That's great. Anything else you wanna say?
No, not really. I think we covered, quite some topics. And I'm very happy with this conversation because, we really we got into the nitty gritty kind of how to, get into the business, how to make that film that's burning in your soul, right? Because that's what I'm looking for when I work with my students. Like, okay, what is that story? Why that story? And how can we really get that on the screen in a way that it will communicate to people and it will appeal to them. And that's for me the key. And if people come to me like, oh yeah, I want money for my film and I want this, I want that, but nobody gives it to me, I'm like, okay, but let's get first back to the basis. What is the story you want to tell? Why do you want to tell that? And how are we gonna bring that to a level that that it will be meaningful to people?
As a producer, we're always looking for new stories, great concepts, and all that, but it's hard to find them. So as a writer, I would concentrate on those original concepts. That will give some attention. That's what we're looking for. But just a personal thing, I don't know. There's so much. I mean, they're probably great scripts, but is it worth to spend a year on it? Is it worth to spend $10 million on it? Is it worth to get a cast attached? I mean, there is always a choice, of course, but I think it's just a hard business, that's for sure. But writers just need to. I think as a writer, you need like 10 years to become a good writer. That it's just the hardest job. And as a director, start with a short film or start with a low budget film of 100K, try to sell it, or do commercials like Adrian did. I think that's also very interesting. And then the question is, how do you start with commercials? Yeah. Buy a DSLR or a small camera and make your own commercials, basically, and maybe shoot something and let it go viral on YouTube. And then maybe some ad agency would say, "Hey, this guy is talented. Let's just reach out."
Yeah.
I think that happens a lot now. I mean, that was not really possible in the old days. We just had to send like a DVD or a CD. Actually, a CD with an AVI file.
Yeah, exactly.
And then hopefully they don't just throw it in trash, or maybe it was trash, also possible, of course. so yeah, I mean, there are many ways to. I would say stay busy and be very active on the internet, so people can people can say like, hey, what's going on with this person?
That's the great thing we have in these days. If you make a short film, you can show it, place it on YouTube and people can see it. You can create a community. There's so many ways of showing your work to people that you don't even know. In the past, this was never possible. And coming back to the commercials, I was suffering making commercials. Really, it was not really. I was in these meetings with these ad agencies, and they were just discussing for 2 hours, the color of red, a little bit more red, a little bit less red of some kind of detail. And I'm like, I don't care about the product. I just want to make films. I want to make something meaningful. I want to make something,
story
with a soul, with a spirit that just, something real. And so I used it to learn technique. But in the end, Film is something very, very different. So I would not advise, if you want to make film, do first commercials, because your soul is going to be, I don't know,
Sucked out of it.
yeah. It's just not. It's just not. I don't like it. No, go straight into short films. Go straight into telling the stories that you want to tell. Experiment with it and just do it. Take action.
Yeah.
Action. That's the key word.
All right, and that's a cut.